Yeah, the smaller one of the two. So everyone should have two of these. And Beth, you also have that screen if you want to look over. Okay, just that far. Okay. Yeah, we're using the smaller one. So you can watch this part first. You can see that in my sample here, I tried a few different colors. So I'd like you to do the same thing where you experiment with the ones you think you like to use and play around with the amounts of water, the amount of pigment, different colors, and different mixes of the color. Maybe you want to do one that's more purple and different shades of purple. This is your opportunity to play around with that. So for mine, I'm going to just, I already have some yellow on here. I'll try to grab it from here. This one, I decided to try painting one of the ones that were yellow or more green and purple. So I'm going to pick up some green here. My palette's a little bit dirty, but I don't mind mixing a little bit. And the key again for the wet on wet technique is to make sure this is watery enough. Mine is quite watery right there. I think the most common mistake is that beginners make is that they make it too dry or too wet. So you're looking for this kind of consistency. And don't worry if you don't get it the first time, it might take some tweaking. Now when I put it on here, let's see. It's watery enough to where I can kind of even see the water flowing on the surface, but not so much that it's puddling. So I've put down my first layer of green here. If it puddles like that, then when I lay down the purple, it's gonna flow with the puddle. If I don't want that, I'm gonna dab this maybe with the corner of this paper towel, and it'll soak that up. You can see this puddle on the bottom disappearing. Now I've got more of a flat, even sheen. You can see from how shiny it is like that, and it's not really thick in any one area. So now that I have it quite even, when I make the blend, it should look even as well, because the paint will flow wherever the water's flowing. Now I'm putting this purple right on top. And now you can see this wet on wet effect taking place here, where it's starting to blend from bottom to top.
Which purple are you using?
Oh, so the purple, it's this one right here. This one is across from an orange. There's a magenta right next to it. This is magenta. So if you want to count from the top corner on this one, it's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. This is the sixth one from the black at the end. So go ahead and try that yourself. You can use either green or even just purple. And if you'd like to, you can even take a look at the photo reference and see if you can get similar lines that go up and down from the bottom of the fruit to the top. I kind of did that in my other sample here. Remember, the more wet it is, the more it will blend or the more it will flow. And the more dry it is, the less it will. So you can adjust to your liking how much water you use. And if you ever have too much water on your paintbrush to where you have more paint on there than you would like to before you put it on your paper, you can remove that excess paint by gently dabbing the tip of it on a paper towel or just on the edge of your palette to squeeze it out. If you finish this one, you can continue to experiment and practice. Maybe you want to try different colors. Or if you want to adjust how much water you've got or pigment. Let's make maybe 6 of these. Or just fill up somewhere in the top half of the paper with some of these circles here. And they also don't have to be circles. If you prefer to paint the fig shape to practice the fig shape, you can do that too.
No, yours.
Oh, this one.
Just let me put it over here on the edge of the table.
Oh, I could put this on the screen too.
Oh, okay.
Here, let me put this. How about I put this right here? And you like this one, huh?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
That was a good idea. I'll leave this one up here for reference. Maybe a little bit of that one on the side too. Move all this stuff. Trying to see if I can get the music without it being too loud. I don't know if I can. I'll just have it come from my laptop. Figs, I would say, can use this purple, even the magenta next to it, as well as the blue next to the purple. This is like a navy blue. In small amounts, maybe, if you don't want it to be too strong. Like I've got one that's purple with a little blue on the bottom. I'm gonna try making one of those right now. The watercolor always dries a bit lighter than how it looks when you put it down. So one way you can approach it is to make your painting darker at first than you would like it to be, and once it's dry it'll be a bit lighter. Like very plump water droplets, the way the figs are shaped. I think last time I brought this in, Jocelyn said that they look like onions. It's the stripes. I can see that, they look like red onions. Also, another reminder for the wet on wet technique to work, it's got to be wet paper with a wet paintbrush in order for the paints to blend. Because if it's dry, then it won't blend. So if your first layer is drying before you can put on the second layer, then you're not going to have the wet on wet effect. If you have too much wet, remember how to remove that extra or excess. can, make sure you leave a little bit of space on your paper for some practice on the middle part of the fig. If you don't have space, that's okay. You can use maybe the back side once it's dry. But for the bottom half, we're going to practice the fig innards. The innards. The yummy part. On some of your figs, you might even want to try using 3 colors if you're up for the challenge. I've got one here that I'm working on. It's green on top with magenta in the middle and then purple on the bottom. And if you don't want all those colors to be blending, you could do one at a time instead of painting one on top of another. For anyone who's interested, I'm going to demonstrate that right now. I'm going to do this section by section. Here's just the top, and I'm leaving this quite wet here. And I'm going to directly go to the magenta and paint it on the bottom edge here. It'll blend a little bit. And then lastly, the purple at the very bottom. This makes the colors a bit more separate and less blended, but it's another way to approach it. Hello. Welcome. Oops. Yeah, we're doing figs today. Now remember, when you're mixing your colors, if you have a green, for example, it looks too green, but you want it to be more warm, you can mix it with a yellow color to make it less green but more yellowish. I'll give everyone about another minute or so to practice this part, and then we'll move on to practicing the inside of the fig. This one?
I like the way you left some white right next to it, where the left the white showing, the hole right there. So those white
Oh, yeah.
spots, you left some space.
Yeah, this is just from, I made these brush strokes with a little bit of space in
Like
between.
some of the
Yeah, that's one way you could paint it as well. And I think I actually prefer the way I did the inside on this one compared to that one. Maybe we'll do this one instead. There are a few ways to approach it. I'll show both ways. Okay. Now everyone, I'm about to show you how to do the inside, so when you're ready, take a look up at the screen. I'll show you how, hold on, zoom in on this one so you can see how I did the inside here. For this one, I painted a very light outside edge here, and then on the inside I dabbed little bits of red so that you can see the individual seeds. And I think we'll do it that way versus this way. at least for the first one. So I'm gonna demonstrate how I did it. With this one, it might take a little practice to get the right color, because what we're aiming for is a very, very, very light yellow, which means very little pigment, but a lot of water. So I'm gonna go for this yellow. It's the third one from this side of the palette. Just a tiny bit. And let me put it on here. It's a bit hard to see because my palette's kind of dirty, but I think you can tell how thin it is. It's very faint. And the great thing about this warm-up sheet is that I can use this to test out my colors and see if it's light or dark enough. This is so light, I think you might not be able to see it on the screen. I'll make it a little bit darker. There we go. Okay, so I've tested out this color. And I'm gonna go ahead and try painting the inside of the fig shape. So it'll be like a water droplet shape. And then I'm gonna pick up a red that I like. So this red's a bit warmer. This one's a less warm red. And when I say warmer, it's a bit closer to orange. I'm gonna try that one first. For this color, I want it to be very concentrated, so I'm just using a bit of water and I'm grabbing it directly from the palette instead of adding more water to it. And I'm gonna test it out right here to make sure it's dark enough. That's quite dark. So I think I like that consistency. I'm gonna start from the middle and make these lines that are radiating outward. I'm gonna let it touch here because I really like this blending effect. So you can see it's starting to bleed. Let me zoom in even more. It's bleeding into that yellow that I laid down because the yellow is still wet. And I would have this go to the edge here. And fill this up until it looks about right. And then in the very center, I'm gonna put a darker brown, maybe even a little black. Because if you notice in the photos, in the very center of some of those cut open figs, there's a dark area in the center for some shadow. Now this might be this looks kind of strange by itself. If I add the outer skin here, it'll look more like a fig. Boop. So this is one way we can approach the center. You can go ahead and try that yourself. I know that was a lot of steps, so I'm going to do it again if you want to follow along. Making a very, very light yellow. One that's so light you can hardly see it, but not so light that you can't see it. You still want to be able to see it. I'm going to test that out right here. Okay, that looks good. We'll do this water droplet shape again. This is the inside of the fig. It's so faint. Yeah, I used some black. Maybe, yeah, this is still wet. This yellow was still wet when I applied it, so it bled out a little bit, but that, I think that effect is really nice if you can get it, because it looks more like the way most figs do, where it kind of, it gradates into that outer edge. And on this one, I'm gonna keep, I don't really like how thin these lines are. Let's see if I can make them thicker. Oops. A lot of little lines radiating out from the center here. Kind of looks like a peach, now that I think about it. And for the center, if you're using black, you don't have to use a lot. It doesn't have to be very dark, just darker. focused. Well, now that you've gotten to practice some of these shapes and colors and different brush strokes, when you're ready, you can actually, we can get started on this larger one here. Just applying what we practiced to a larger sheet of paper and with the bigger brush. I'm gonna set this aside. And you can continue to use this warm-up sheet as your test sheet for colors. If you're not sure how your painting is looking or your paint is gonna look, you can test it out on here before you put it on the painting. Okay, so on this larger sheet, I'm using the larger brush as well because it covers more area and I want to make bigger marks. To get this one started, I would say we could start maybe on the corner of one side and then work our way to fill up the page, and you can kind of make it up as you go, or you can follow me if you like to. On this one, in the style that I did it, I left some white streaks going down. You can do that if you'd like to, or you can fill it in all the way like I did in this one, where I made lines with paint instead of leaving gaps. So I'll do a combination of both so you can see both options. For this first one, I want to try making a purple one, and I'm going to put a little blue in it. I find that if you can paint your objects with a little bit of variety in color, it makes them look less flat. So I'm going to use purple with a little bit of blue. Okay, I've mixed a lot here. The big puddle. And test this out on here to make sure it looks as dark as I'd like it to. It does. I'll paint one big fig right there. I think one of the most common habits that beginners have, it's not necessarily bad, but most people tend to paint really small. So if you start painting this one and you notice it's really tiny compared to the rest of the paper, you can enlarge it. I'm making this so big I need to move my hand around on the paper. Okay, there's my purple. Now I'm gonna go for this navy blue. I want it to be darker, so I'm gonna use less water and more pigment. And this one I can go straight to the painting if I make it dark enough. Making some lines here. I noticed these figs, they tend to be much larger on the bottom and a little bit thinner on the top. That's what makes them look really plump. So I'm going to try to make a similar shape. Even wider. Here's one. And on my next one I want to do a little bit of a different color, so I'll try purple with maybe magenta. And you can reference what you practiced earlier to see what colors you like to use. Actually, I'll use, instead of magenta, I'll use red. It's red next to the green. You can paint these faces facing different directions or going in different angles. I'm going to have this one lean to the right. Maybe add some red streaks here. And I let this one touch my first one so they're blending into each other a little bit. I did that on purpose because I like the effect, but you don't have to do that. For the rest of this time, we'll keep filling up this paper. And I'll just keep explaining what I'm doing as I go in case anyone wants to follow or see how I do it. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna paint this one on the top right. It's a half cut open fig. The way I'm gonna start it is I'm gonna do the outline, the outer skin with the purple, and then I'll go ahead and do the technique we just did earlier. And I'm making sure that I only use the tip of my brush so that I can keep a fine line, which means I'm holding my brush mostly perpendicular to the paper. So it's not at an angle. That way I can make sure just the tip is touching. Okay. Add that very light yellow on the inside. I'm gonna let that bleed a little bit. So it's picking up some of the purple I just put down. Because this is a finer detail, I'm switching back to my smaller brush for these little red lines. center, I'm gonna finish with a little black area. Just one little dark spot for that empty center. Try making a green fig, maybe greenish reddish. This is a very colorful fruit. It's got a range of greens to reds to purples to blues, browns, yellows, pretty much every color actually. Now one tip for when you're designing your composition, try playing around with which way the fruits are facing. Maybe they're diagonal this way or that way, or even upside down. If you need to turn your paper to do that, that can be easy and helpful too. For this one, I'm gonna Now I'm going to try to make this quarter of a fig. So this one's a half moon shape. I'll start with the yellow bit first. of green. Remember, you can play with the variety of colors that you have in your palette, different yellows, different greens. I use the yellow ochre for this one and then a little bit of that light green. I'm using the light green for the lines and then the yellow ochre for the body of it for the most part. Add a little bit of red.